welcome. Between Darkened Mirrors, episode 5. All right. So, we had quite a bit done last time, I think, and introduction to a new threat. We are missing our American this evening, but we hope to see him next time. All right. So we will be moving forward with our 3 players. All right. So if you recall, just want to see what people remember from last time, what strikes in their memory. So if you can go around and then have each of you do a short recap of what you remember your character doing before we entered into dusk phase.
I remember that Victor had sparred with Doc, and then after that, Victor visited his an old friend and contact a doctor to check in about the fighter who was supposed to go see them.
Whitmore shared an intimate moment with Lord Campbell-Hughes about some of Lord Campbell-Hughes' adventures, and then proceeded into the theater district, where he performed a brief panto with the threat, with the king and his audience.
Lord James Campbell-Hughes spent most of the day at the Royal Explorers Club, where he asked Lady Winifred to keep Scotland Yard back from our investigations of the Shoreditch Slugger, in case things get a little out of hand with that. And then I spent some time with Sir Anthony to talk about this King in the Shadows play business, and got a couple of clues from him.
Very cool. And so I believe last time you answered a question about where the venue is that the play will be taking place next. And it's going to be in the basement of Hargrave House. So, all right. We're going to go ahead and begin dusk phase with the usual accoutrements of doing it. We won't have the Americans quickening, but there are a couple of things that I believe are still activated in this phase, plus some of the usual things. Before we get into the dusk phase, I am owed the details after answering the first question for King and Shadow about the new venue. You need to name it, which is the basement at Hargrave House. Create 3 descriptive features showcasing the off-putting nature of the location.
Above the door to the basement, which somehow the door to the basement itself has been replaced with curtains, but above this curtain-laden door, there are 4 theater masks, one for each of our faces. There is Victor as the chopped, with half of his face cut off by one of his own hand axes. There's the drunks. Doc's face isn't actually on the wall, it's on the floor. There is the silenced Whitmore without a mouth. And then there is the laid back. It is a fat version of Lord Campbell-Hughes. The rest of the masks all have medals and honors bestowed near them, except for that one.
There's a perpetual leak, and so there's always standing water in the basement. Some places it's kind of maybe 2 or 3 inches deep. Some places it's just wet. but there's always dripping standing water.
I think you can never get too comfortable when you finally get seated past the masks after you ignore the dripping water, because no matter which chair you sit in, one of the legs always feels short enough for your chair to wobble.
Okay. So we begin dusk phase. And what that includes is resolving any playbook moves or custom moves that are resolved during dusk phase normally. It will be usually the quickening, but we're going to say that Doc has found himself elsewhere, and then we will find out next time where that elsewhere was. All right. And then we have the Explorer, if you want to activate the Rear Admiral's move, but you don't have to. Lord Campbell-Hughes. And then Factotum, day work. You must choose one of your options.
Given that we are still investigating the King in Shadows and seem to have things shored up with the Shoreditch Slugger, I would like to pull a... Sorry, I'm stalling because I'm scrolling to the actual section. I would like to pull something and add it to someone's personal quarters. I believe at this point I've added something to everyone's personal quarters except Lord Campbell-Hughes. In which case, a lighter branded with the REC's emblem.
The move specifically says that you
Oh.
found it in the house.
I found it in the house.
However, you can parlay this where
My apology.
no. You can totally parlay this because, I mean, it doesn't have to be that Lord James has been the only explorer in the house.
I could have misplaced it too.
It was a
Give you
gift
your
bag.
own lighter.
That's precious. And you need Whitmore to find it.
I accept my own misreading of that and will give you back your own lighter.
It's fine. It's fine.
I wondered where this had gotten off to.
I found it while trying to remove the faces that appeared under the basement stairs.
Well, given that it's going into basement at Hargrave House for the performance coming up, let's just say that the room we're going to look at, and please feel free and put this into the rooms at Hargrave House tab, we're going to go into the basement. All right, so let me see if I can find it. There we go. This space was cluttered with the belongings of long dead hunters who used to live at Hargrave House. What do you take from it? Add it to your personal quarters.
Oops.
No problem. I mean, this is something where I'm going to say, because you didn't know that the basement at Hargrave House was going to be the new performance venue, I'm going to say it's like, you happen to find this stuff as you were finding all the things being, being shunted out of the biggest room, the biggest main area of the basement, and you just find all this detritus out in the halls down in the basement. What do you find there? And what do you keep? I will give this option to Doc when he comes back too.
I'm going to say Lord Campbell-Hughes finds it's a firearm called a howdah, and it's used for tiger hunting on top of elephants. And so if the tiger drops out of the tree and attacks, the howdah's is this big British pistol that's used to defend the people on the elephant. So I'm gonna put Howdah elephant pistol.
I think I'll take. I already have a lot of weapons. I'll take a crystal eye.
I think Whitmore would be most intrigued by the envelope sealed with wax, stamped with the Queen's insignia, and would pick that up.
Which queen?
Queen of England.
Right. Which queen?
Ooh. I presume we'd go Victoria. A simple answer.
Okay. It wasn't a trick question. It was just like, there's choices. Okay. All right. So now each player will say what their hunter will be doing for the upcoming night phase. All right. Keep in mind that you do have Shoreditch Slugger still on the docket with, I don't think this changed. Looks like 4 clues. 4 clues to explain towards the remaining question to resolve the threat for a 6 complexity. And then for King in Shadows, there are 3 clues for, excuse me. I can count. It's great. 2 clues towards the 6 complexity. So do you have some investigating that you can be doing, but we'll see. All right. And remember that there is a time limit on the King in Shadows threat. All right. So let's go round. Victor, what would you like to be doing this evening?
I have a show to attend.
Okay. Lord Campbell-Hughes?
I don't want to, but I think I have to see what's going on in the basement and see if I can find some more clues while we're in the night to see what's going on. If we can grab some performers, and just try to find more information.
I will say that there have been changes to the city as this strange threat has been making its way across London, not only through the play just being performed, but I mean also like reality changes and such. So conceivably, you could also go to the last place, which was Roundley Chapel, or you could visit the 2 people that went completely mad or tried to tell you about like the play, and they're in Bethlem. All right. And there's also, I'm not going to tell you about it just yet, but if you wander the streets of London, you may find something interesting. I'm just saying. Okay. And Whitmore.
Whitmore was going to see about heading to the mental institution. Despite him being a good housekeeper, it's someone else's job to clean up whatever this is.
And any changes with hearing what each one of you are doing? No changes? Okie doke. All right. And I don't think we have any outstanding masks or anything like that from last time. So we will go finish out Dusk Phase, where I introduce the unseen that we'll be doing during this night phase. Okay. And that will be on line 11, should be the first one there, the Empire Club. All right. So the Empire Club is situated in a grand townhouse just off of St. James's Square. Membership is popular among young aristocrats. some lower birth order, many of whom have traveled to or profit from holdings abroad. Select invitations have been granted to those of less esteemed breeding who have managed to make their mark and a small fortune overseas. It boasts card games till the early hours of the morning, cooks from the goodness. There we go. Yes, cooks from the four corners of the world, and plentiful bedrooms for those far from home or avoiding their family. Tall tales and business deals alike are shared over brandy and cigars. All right. First one is paint the scene, which is everyone. Second one we will make Jeremy. Third one we will make Paul. Fourth one we will have Daniel. And because King of Shadows is in play, there is a special rule that gets added to the end of every unseen. So the question is, how does reality subtly distort in the background? Added to every unseen prompt. All right. So include that when you do your unseen narrations. And again, remember the purpose of the unseen. It's to draw thematic sensory detail together from or with the hunter's scenes. I can never explain this correctly. I'm not sure why. But anyway, I mean, like, you mentioned detail or some sort of feeling from the unseen, and then it appears in your hunter scenes and vice versa. And it doesn't necessarily have to be your own that you have to match. All right. It could be from somebody else's. And that's why I encourage you always to write down what you said. Write down what you put down, so somebody else can use it possibly as an echo in the night. All right, to get that experience. I'm going to say the play is not quite underway just yet. I'm going to say that Lord Campbell-Hughes, if you want to investigate a little bit as these people are coming in, I mean, you're getting continual knocks at the back door. And I imagine, Victor, as you're interested in attending the play yourself, it's like, you're able to field these people and also be a bouncer if anybody's looking a little bit, out of sorts per se. So, I mean, you're a perfect foil for anybody that seems like they want to make trouble. But if anything, these are just performance goers that want to see what this play is about or have seen it before and are starting to get that particular look about them. All right. And again, Lord Campbell-Hughes, I mean, like, while he's taking care of that, you could conceivably look around further in the basement, or, take your search through the streets of London if you'd like to see what there is to see.
No, I want to see who's setting up. I want to see, like, who are the people that are setting this up.
Sure.
Not the people who are coming to observe it, or the audience. I'm looking for the extras and the backstage folks and the lighting folks.
I'm going to say, again, you've all found the detritus or, the discarded remains of things from previous hunters in the house. They've been left out in the hallway, and like somehow the biggest room or the biggest area in the basement, which seems much larger than you remember last time you were down here, has been commandeered by masked and cloaked figures. So none of them look like they are just regular folk, per se. They're people that are wearing like some kind of theater mask, some kind of hooded cloak or hooded robes, or like some variation of such, just to keep their faces hidden. And they nod at you as you walk through them, and they're just putting together things. They will give you a hand up with white gloves, indicating it's like you can go no further. Like when they have the great velvet curtains up.
Is this the dusk phase or are we in the night phase?
Gonna say it's like, we're like transitioning through. I'm just letting you know like what's going on at the moment. Okay. So yeah, let me go ahead and paint the scene. So we're gonna go through with the first prompt of the unseen. Paint the scene. Beyond the wood-paneled walls and leather armchairs, what signs of masculinity and power are on display here? And again, how does reality subtly distort in the background?
I think there's lots of trophy heads from animals like antelopes and tigers and bears and things like that mounted up on the wall. And as people are walking under them and going about their business and smoking cigars and all that, almost as if they were animatronic. Sometimes their mouths open and their eyes move and they kind of snarl, but it looks very it doesn't look computer animated. It looks like animatronics at an amusement park or Chuck E. Cheese or something. It's not very high tech.
I think there are like paintings of like men throughout history doing cool stuff, like Greeks and at an Olympics fighting each other, like wrestling, maybe two knights jousting, that sort of thing. But how reality distorts is you can swear that the people here have seen these paintings for a long time. They know it's supposed to be in there, but they can swear that in the knight's painting, there's a Greek. It's strange. And in the audience for the Olympics, there are sailors in the crowd. Strange.
The ticket counter that's been set up just at the foot of the basement stairs was hastily assembled and is actually built up on barrels of gunpowder that we keep in the basement, and barrels of alcohol that we also keep in the basement, and all of these sort of large casks that took heavy lifting and coordination to move down here. As the night moves on, though, it can be sworn that there's a trail of gunpowder, I suppose, leading to one of the barrels, and every time you blink, it kind of just looks like it's sparking already. The trail's already on fire, but when you look away, it's clearly no gunpowder there, and it's perfectly fine. But it seems the entire theater's a powder keg waiting to explode.
And just a gentle reminder that the unseen happens in a place completely separate from where the hunters are. But I will say that I feel like you're encouraging somebody to blow up part of Hargreaves' house, given that detail. I know Victor wants to, or I mean, at least like, blow something up. However, I don't suggest it this early in the campaign.
No, we know where my mind is.
Yeah,
My
well.
apologies.
No, not a problem. That's great. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Sorry. Okay. Now we are in the basement, and the setup is happening, and you do see that detail a little bit. Lord Campbell-Hughes, I mean, you see what looks like they're getting ready for some pyrotechnics maybe, but it's like every time you take a second look, it's like, it's fine. It just happens to be gunpowder, or it happens to be, something flammable. Oh boy. But nobody will let you beyond like the black velvet curtains that cover what they're making of a stage.
I mean, they can put their hand up to stop me, but that doesn't mean that it stops me.
Okay.
Like I don't this is Hargrave House, and I'm with Hargrave House, and probably the first person that puts their hand up to stop me. I asked them, on what authority do you stop me in my own abode?
They will pause, put their hands down, and then they will lean in and say, "You're not on yet."
Oh, yes, I am.
They're- Go
Let's let's inspect the stage, shall we?
they won't say anything. They'll just kind of like look up and then back behind them. And then they will step aside for you to go through what looks like another layer of velvet curtains.
That's what, yeah, I'll poke around.
I would like you to roll. I would like you to roll with sensitivity. And do you have any conditions on you at the moment?
I don't think so.
All right, that's my fault. I should be slapping you with conditions, but
We just did all those vulnerable scenes.
That's true. That's true. Okay, cool.
I got a 10, -1 is a 9.
Okay. All right, let me head over to Whitmore, and then I'll come back to the house with Victor. Okay. So Whitmore, you have made your way. It's nighttime, but to be honest, I mean, I don't think there's ever really any rest in Bedlam. All right. So yeah, sometimes surprisingly clean, other times not. Too many empty corridors, a heavy blanket of quiet stillness, amazingly enough. Paint the scene. Madness walks the streets, and so the patients are quiet. What do you hear in the silence that makes you fear exploring deeper within?
To anyone else, it wouldn't be frightening, but it's a pair of nurses just talking at a sort of a desk doing some paperwork. Talking about a young girl that was admitted and how they had to send the young girl's parents home for the evening as the girl needed to be isolated late into the evening for her own safety. And despite it being a very natural and normal conversation, Whitmore would still shudder as he walks past it.
So do you just walk in, or do you try to find somebody of authority to let you know where the two that had seen the play are located?
Whitmore would definitely ask for directions to their room.
And just as a reminder, the individuals are artist Hypatia Quint and theater critic Larkin Creel. As a matter of fact, prior to his admittance to Bedlam, Larkin published a scathing review of a piece of the experimental theater called The King in Shadows. And his review was described as unforgiving in its criticisms. I want you to make a night move as you enter these halls. And I need you to make it with composure. If a conversation makes you uneasy, I can only imagine what it must feel like to enter this without the others. And do you have a
In the dark.
disadvantage? So sorry. Wait. What do you think will go wrong if you fail or
That's
lose
right.
your nerve?
Whitmore fears that just by being here, that asking these questions would get himself committed. That he will not walk out the doors of this asylum.
Yeah, I think the madness has reached in here too, for ironically enough, for real. And yeah, you will be drawn in not only as being committed, but you will also start to fall under the spell of the King in Shadows. I, for some reason, it's like these scenes from Mouth of Madness movie just keep on fluttering into my head. So it's like it's kind of like that. So what did you roll?
I have not yet. I was waiting for the fear if it goes wrong and taking a quick look at the personal quarters, but I don't think anything applies.
Okay. Out of curiosity,
Yes.
before you
Mhm.
tell me what the role is, what happened to that book that you had gotten in your mask last time? That book that you spent the umbrella notes on. I'm just going to call it the umbrella notes because that's what you got them from. What happened to that book?
I'm going to ask the question, what book?
I believe it was a book.
The ring box.
Oh, the ring box. Okay. I thought it was a book for some reason.
A small velvet box from a jewelry store containing at least one wedding ring
Got it. Okay.
or engagement ring.
Ah, okay. Oh God, I can't wait to hear this story. All right. Sorry. I just had to ask because I thought it was a book. All right.
Very fair. So that'll be 8.
Okay. All right. I'm going to head over to Victor and then I'll resolve everybody's roles. All right. So Victor, you might have, or may or may not have seen Lord Campbell-Hughes, bring his officiousness backstage and disappear into the velvet curtains as he's investigating. But do you, as you're letting all these people in, through, I'm going to say it's there's somehow, I don't know if you remember this happening before, but leading into the basement is not just the one door from the upstairs, but also it's like a set of double barn doors that are kind of as if they're leading into a root cellar, but this is leading into the main area of the basement, which again looks hell of a lot bigger than you remember. All right. So, you've been stationed at the doors, you've been letting some of these people in. Some of them look somewhat regular and others look like they're about on the last thread. What do you think? What are you thinking as this is happening?
I think the only thing Victor is thinking is what the fuck would Rosicrucius be doing right now in this situation? He would be doing some weird magic shit, I guess. Understanding the what the fuck is it? Reality, the true reality, the layers of the things affecting. I guess I just sit and see what happens. Usually things just kind of happen with these things. You get drawn in. It's kind of nice actually, not to find the shit. It's just there. He just sits down. It's like when you go to a play and your friend was like, "Oh, I'm gonna be there in a second," but then you sit down and you're just by yourself. There's an empty seat next to you. There's people just sitting down around you. It's just where did Lord Campbell? He was supposed. Now it's all. And he kind of just looks around, just feeling awkward. Just out of desperation. It's just there's a random person next to him. You've seen this before, or this here?
I think you'll notice from the ones that look a bit touched per se, those are the ones that are nodding enthusiastically and saying, yes, I've seen it more than once. I've seen it at least 3 times. It's been wonderful and horrifying at the same time. It's like their faces have going through the back and forth between the sock and the buskin mask, like,
Mm,
you know, comedy and tragedy all at once, and then back and forth again. And then like there are those that have just been kind of giving you confused looks, like, I'm not sure why I'm here, but I heard about this play, and
yeah.
these folks seem to be quite excited about it. So yes, and things are quite different outside. Have you seen lately?
Hmm?
The
What?
the trees, the
Hmm.
trees out on the street are waving.
They're
Waving
waving.
at us. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Um, yeah. My friend was supposed to come here, but I guess they just didn't want to show up just yet. I thought we had a plan, and it's kind of like when you make plans with your friends, do you like they show up on time, right? It's just expected.
Sometimes they do, sometimes. But we've been losing time lately. Have you noticed that
Mm.
too? And she'll pull out a pocket watch. It's not hers.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like it belongs to somebody much older and more distinguished, I guess.
Yeah.
And she'll pull it out and show you, and then she'll flick it open, and then she'll show you that the hands are going crazy, like they're
Mm.
like maybe going in opposite directions or what have you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's gonna happen when you're here. Um, do you have like who are the people you love most in the world? Out of curiosity.
That's a very strange question. Mind you,
Yeah, it is.
she's quite attractive. She's got like a pert little hat. She's got like a walking
Mhm.
suit for the evening, like, yeah, as if she's going to a show, which she is,
Yes.
obviously.
Yeah.
She looks fairly normal. I mean, she doesn't look
Mhm.
touched just yet, and she just kind of looks at you and draws away just a little bit and says, "That's quite a personal question."
It is. It is. Just as you're gonna need like one of those things to like really ground yourself. Do you see the people right behind me? Yeah, they're lost causes at this point. Don't even they're barely even here anyway. Yeah, things are gonna happen tonight. Putting it out there, things are gonna happen.
Should I
You
leave?
huh?
Should I leave? I
You
mean,
probably can't leave at this point. You can try. It'll be amazing if you could leave. It would be great. Honestly, give it a shot. Maybe it's like maybe like a 10% chance to be able to leave.
as she stands up to leave your side, she is seeing that the doors have closed with an ominous boom.
Yep, there it is.
No lock in sight. No lock in
Yeah,
sight, but like
no
you can hear
lock,
you can
right?
hear the thud,
Yeah,
something
it's a good
like
thud.
clamping down something. It's
Clamped. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're stuck here. Yeah, just hold on to that thought. Person you love the most, things that ground you in this version of reality.
I-
Just think about that, and fingers crossed, we'll get through this. All right.
I don't know. I mean, I actually don't have anybody that I care about that much right now. I mean, it's just I happen to find myself here walking and yes,
Hey, at least you were dressed, right?
I was going to a show. I was heading towards
Mm.
I was heading towards the Grand Guignol, but
Mm.
this this is quite different.
Very. I don't think maybe there's gonna be some like ballet in this, but
I'm so sorry. I'm horrible at introductions. My name is Melody Bain.
Melody. Nice to meet you. Victor Armstrong.
Nice to meet you, Victor.
Mhm.
Oh, Mr. Armstrong, I apologize. I can be quite
Hmm?
quite informal. I apologize.
No, it's completely fine. And you know what? It would be great if after this you still remember your name and all that good stuff. But hey, I don't know you. Maybe you lived like a decent life, but um
I imagine so.
yeah, right.
Yeah,
Nice.
I
You dress well, so that I can assume that it's been good.
yes.
Yes.
I run a small mercantile.
Good.
Uh,
Right. No regrets, right? Had no
no.
regrets?
No.
Perfect. Yep.
Okay.
Good.
You
All
are
right.
Has anyone told you you're quite odd?
Hmm?
Has anyone told you you're quite odd?
Me? Odd?
Yes. Yes.
Uh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I just want to make. I guess it's force of habit. Just want to make sure you're prepared for whatever sort of like, mind-altering bullshit's about to happen.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And the lights go down. The curtains part. Next unseen. Jeremy, a boisterous game of cards is played by some of the young bucks. Amidst the bluff and bluster, how do we see the differences between those with great wealth and noble blood and those with only one or the other? And again, remember, you must say how reality subtly distorts in the background.
See that those of noble blood and great wealth are separated from the riffraff in separate rooms, different tables playing different types of games. We may see the riffraff only betting with poker chips and a game of blackjack, where we see those who should truly be here at a table surrounded by gorgeous servers, placing down family rings at a poker table. Every so often, however, we'll see someone place down a ring in their segregated rooms, and it doesn't hit the table. It just kind of falls through the table, through a little hole, and winds up on another table for the riffraff to bet upon. And occasionally a poker chip gets distorted through the ether and doesn't make it to its right betting table and finds its way onto the young blood, onto the old blood's table.
Very cool. All right. So, Lord Campbell-Hughes, a 9. Yes, I'm going to say that you make your way past these velvet curtains. But as you're pushing through them, it gets more difficult to push, like as if they're trying to tangle themselves, around you and on you. But you make it through. And instead of the eventual stage where you expect to see people getting ready to perform, you find yourself out in an alleyway, a very dark, obscured alleyway that at the very end seems to be a pub door lit by a single sconced lamp with a merry flame flickering inside. You head in?
Is this my clue?
Oh no, this is where you're going to get it.
I look behind the way that the way that I came. I look behind to see what's behind me.
Darkness.
And in this alley, does it have if I look up, can I see the sky or?
You see what looks like stars, but no constellations that you might recognize.
But I will go to this pub.
The board
Which may or may not be part of the play, I'm thinking.
The board looks like it has a semi-obscured barrel with a tap on it, spewing what looks like beer or some kind of drink. When you open up this door, you enter in a place where your footfalls disappear and are absorbed into this thick plush carpet. And you see in this dimly lit place that it's packed with these mysterious patrons that look like they're in featureless gold masks, and the air is smoky and reeking of beer. Paint the scene. Being here feels like being unstuck in time. What do you experience that makes you feel this way?
There are two Roman soldiers who were stationed here a few thousand years ago, and they're complaining in Latin. They're complaining about they don't get paid enough to do the things they have to do, and they're drinking beer, and they're slumped over the table. But next to them are people, dressed as Victorians. You can see there's people from all times in London here.
They are all wearing those featureless masks, but I believe you can tell because of their clothing or armor even. Yeah, you can distinguish a far counter that looks like a bar. And behind it is the only person in the room that looks like a person and not wearing a mask of any sort. Kind of like washing out or like wiping down some glasses, wiping down the counter. And just kind of gives you a glance and then goes back to what he's doing.
Do I recognize him?
He looks painfully familiar to you, like from a dream, but escapes all I can't even say the word. Never mind. You know what I mean. Can't identify him.
I will go and ask him for an ale.
Ah, absolutely, sir. And provides the right glass, gets the right, head on it, or maybe not, and presents it to you. It is a beautiful golden color of a perfect temperature.
And I ask him, these are all actors for the King and Shadow play?
Actors. No, these are regular bar patrons. See them all the time.
How do they drink their beers with their mask on?
They seem to be doing just fine. And if you look, they will bring their various cups and tankards up to their faces, and the beer or their drink seemingly disappears without a trace.
These are definitely the actors in that play, The King and Shadows. That's what I tell the bartender.
I'm not sure what you're speaking of, sir, but
you can take that to the bank.
Okay. Normally people pay with coin, but
oh, sure. That's just a phrase.
I see. I wonder, have we met before?
Perhaps.
Have
you ever visited realms of darkness and shadow? Because that's where you'll find me on any given day or evening such as tonight.
You are the dramatic one, aren't you, sir?
I'm auditioning for the King and Shadows.
Yes. The occluded play. I have heard of that. Yes. Huh. Well, I wish you luck. What do they usually say? Break a leg?
I tap my nose.
You look like you've finished that off quite quickly. Shall I give you more of your usual?
Yep, the night's young. Let's go ahead and fire it up.
All right. I could swear that I've seen you before. But the night, as you say, is young.
I'll drink to that.
I think as you're drinking, let me give you a clue. Yeah, I think as you take more of this drink that he's given you, I think you'll see like along behind him on the counter, like, rows and rows of bottles, things that look like they have labels, but you can't quite tell what they say. Other things that look like they're in very strange bottles, like one has the cap or the closure of what looks like a huge sapphire on it, and the liquid is gray green. And then something else that looks like it has fireflies dancing in it in liquid. But among all these strange bottles and not so strange bottles, you'll see a broken bottle of rum with a strange light glinting off of it, almost as if it's got a spotlight, but you don't know where that spotlight's coming from. That is your clue. All right, Whitmore, with your 8 in Bedlam, I think you'll see ahead of you as you go further into these dark corridors that somewhat lit by lanterns that are high up on the walls and very sealed to prevent any interference or accidental breakage. You see that there's some figure shambling towards you. And shamble it does because it seems to be tied up in a straitjacket, unusually tight. And then their facial features look like they're not facial features at all. It's like there's a mask made of 2 fused together. The familiar sock and buskin facial mask of the theater. And the hair that is like spewing out of this mask is tangled and dirty with a shock of white. And this is shambling towards you. What do you do?
Whitmore would, I think, take a step to the side to not be in this, I'm also going to call it a creature, but this person's way. And look for a nurse or someone employed at the hospital, as if a patient hasn't gotten out, then something far worse has happened.
I think as you back out, or like kind of like back into a doorway out of this person's way, I think they'll pass you without really noticing, but you hear them muttering. And you'll notice that what you thought was a dual mask, it's actually their face. And you hear this strangely visaged person mutter to themselves as they're kind of shifting as best as they can. The shambling gait is because they're just so wrapped up tightly in this straitjacket that it is uncomfortable to move. And they're saying, down below in the vastness, gems and gold are glittering. Unspeakable wealth, unknowable knowledge. He is reaching out for you, calling you home to him. Would that I could return to the cold embrace of the void, but the void has rejected me. And now I am truly alone, down below, down below. The inky vastness down below, but you, and he immediately swings to get into your face. You can still return. What do you do?
Return from where? Whitmore would ask.
Return from reality. And And you see his mask, the dual mask face, just stretch. The comedy stretches wider. The tragedy just like stretches lower until it like cuts into that part of his face. It is quite grotesque. And he is trying to come out of his straitjacket. And he's not succeeding. However, the straps of his straitjacket are starting to constrict around him further.
Perhaps it's best we got you back to bed, lest you fall through a hole in this reality.
This reality is falling, falling, falling already. Beware, before you fall too. And he begins to cackle and breaks away from you and runs down the hall. And then out of another door, there is a woman, quite angular looking with the bird-like nose. And she is twirling a flower, a dried flower that seems to have come from her hair, which is wild and has wild flowers all over it. She's quite clean, but she's like got the visage of someone who works hard, and her hands are calloused. And she twirls this flower, and she comes out like looking, you're familiar, she looks quite the Ophelia. And she says, "Oh, don't mind Larkin Creel. He's still thinking about that show that he saw 5 times. 5 times. And I think that was enough, but not enough."
Ah, you must be Fatia?
Hypatia.
Hypatia.
Yes, I am. Do you come to see? Do you come to see if we are awake? I'm cutting over to Victor as you're thinking about that.
Yes.
All right. So the lights go down, the curtains go up. It is almost, it's not like you're perceiving curtains, actual curtains going up. It is like the atmosphere. The air has parted darkness. And what you see, somehow in the darkness, you see the words Act 1 as if they have some sort of like day glow paint, like on some kind of blackboard in the back, and it's hovering in midair. And then the lights go up further, highlighting the stage. And it seems somewhat normal, depicts the day-to-day life of, looks like a female protagonist. And they identify her as the journey woman. And she's going about her business and her day. And then all of a sudden, it ends when the journey woman receives news that her 3 immediate family members, mother, father, and brother, have all been killed in a bizarre fishing accident. Paint the scene. The play features a Greek-style chorus that collectively narrates much of the story. What sort of masks do they wear, and why do they feel out of place?
They wear masks of, I think, different animals. They look like they're supposed to be just stagnant masks, like just pretty solid. But whenever the chorus speaks, the mouths and the eyes move. And when you don't look that closely, you aren't 100% sure whether or not those are people up there speaking or the animals themselves.
I'm going to say that Melody turns to you at the end of this act and goes, "What in the world are we watching?"
I think it's sort of something kind of experimental. I think um maybe something about the struggles of the working class. It's usually about the struggle of the working class, is what the normal in thing is nowadays. Um, the thing is, when they don't give characters names, it's really tough to follow. Like, I just need a name for the journey woman. In my head, her name is Stephanie. So if you want to use that,
Stephanie.
yeah.
Interesting. Huh.
Mhm.
I would have considered her more of a Mary myself.
Mary, yeah, I could see it. I could see it. Yeah.
Yes.
hmm
All right.
Feeling okay? Feeling okay? Mine's still in the old.
If I'm still questioning whether this is real, I think I am.
Good. Good.
May I?
Mm-hmm.
May I hold your hand?
Yeah, sure. Um, just don't. I know this is gonna sound like a joke, but it's not. But if my fiance ever like has words of this, she will kill you. It'll be fast though. And then he holds the hand.
Good to know. And then she turns back to the stage. All right. Next unseen. Paul, two older gentlemen, Sir Mortimer Holland and Colonel Bustrold, grumble about the lax morals and deficient work ethic of the younger generation. What complaints do they make, and how do we see their envy for their youth? And how does reality subtly distort in the background?
So we see once the poker chips show up on their table, seemingly out of nowhere. Um, one of them questions the other. It's like, did you put up the ante? I don't remember. It's like, it's fine. Then they keep playing. But around them, these young bucks are loud and raucous, where their poker table is quiet. It's not like they're not having fun. It's just a lot different of a vibe that their poker table has. Um, they complain like to the itself, like they're kind of just like backseating all the younger poker tables, being like, you don't go in that much. Obviously, like if you're that down, betting more isn't gonna make anyone think that you have better cards. Like, um, but it's clear that as they talk about this, they just stare. Like when this one kid just goes all in for no good reason, and then he wins the full pot, and all his friends around him are like laughing and joyous. And another table, this other kid puts his whole thing in and then lose the whole pot, and then all his friends like razz him, and they look at those moments in like envy, because they know that at this point of their life they have too many responsibilities to really be playing that hard. It'll be nice, but the store has been doing great this month, and one of the kids did get injured recently, so I can't be that blasé about all of this. And when the both of them look at one of these table with these younger gentlemen, the camera looks at them, and then we look at the young gentleman, and it just looks very similar to them, like they're looking at the younger versions of themselves playing at that table.
All right, we're going to go backwards. Victor, you are holding Melody's hand. And as Act 2 comes upon, it's considerably more strange. This time, the journey woman is traveling in the underworld. Somehow she's at the gates of Hades with a character called the boatman as they seek to find the court of the occluded king in order to petition him for the release of her family from his shadowy realm. So paint the scene. What strange vistas are displayed on the backdrop during the journey woman's travels through the underworld?
As the woman travels through the underworld, we see different scenes of veneration of various gods of death. There are people at we would know to be like an Aztec monument. There are people being with coins being put over their eyes. And towards the end, there are people just praying as we see bodies covered in bulbuses with pus coming out of them being placed into different, just very large holes. And we just see these different versions of asking, pleading for something from death as we see her approach the occluded king.
Whitmore, you are brought to, well, Hypatia brings you to her room, and she seems to be in relative comfort compared to how you saw Mr. Creel. She tells you that she was admitted to Bedlam after she had a nervous breakdown at a dinner party, and her wife brought her there because of the breakdown being so severe. And she shows you some of the pictures that she was able to make, that she was able to draw or paint, depicting some of these strange dreams that she's had. And as she's doing some sketches, she talks to you without looking down at her pad or her canvas. And she asks you again, "Are you sure that we're still awake? I am convinced that nothing is real, that we sleep still, that all we see or seem is but a dream within a dream. I read that once. What do you consider of reality?"
Reality is a place where the answers make sense. In a dream, that door there might not lead to the hospital hallway. That door might lead you onto the deck of a merry sailing ship, where boisterous young men swab the deck, and their captain looks down upon them, scolding them for not having the same work ethic that he'd had. And through that sea, there might be more fantastical things, but in here, in this hospital room, outside that door, there is in fact a hallway, just as it normally does.
Her head turns and kind of cocks at you in a strange way, even as she continues to look at you. And she's still drawing whatever she's drawing. And she just kind of almost in a haze, but she's looking directly at you. She says, "Reality is the illuminated set of a stage. But that is not real. It is a dream. It is the artifice of the shadowed wings, the backstage that erects the backdrops and the lights of the lights. And she stands up and presents to you as if she is on stage. And from somewhere, there's some sort of illumination on her to highlight what she's doing. And she hands you what she's drawn on the page. It is you. And it is you at the Royal Explorers Club, playing your part as Lord Campbell-Hughes. What do you think of this?
How did you manage to tell a story that both hits the mark and misses it so wildly?
She raises her hand rather dramatically and says, "The artifice of the shadowed wings." And then that illumination that was on her
Mhm.
immediately cuts out, and you're all plunged into darkness with only the light from the hallway left.
Oh, this is why I avoid hospitals.
Lord Campbell-Hughes, you are at, he tells you, the barman, he tells you that you find yourself at the night tap.
I look around and I say, I don't think I've ever frequented this establishment. It's a nice place you've got here.
He just looks at you confusedly and says, "What do you mean you've never been here before? You, you're one of those faces. You have a usual. I mean, I handed it to you, and you've been drinking it like for, well, you can see all the glasses that you've used, and then I mean, before you know it, like you see like 4 of those big tankards in front of you. You obviously been here for a while." It's like, how can you say that you've never been here before when you obviously have?
I'm not who you think I am. Am I intoxicated? Is Lord Campbell-Hughes?
He's basically like, looking at you, taking a sniff. I'm not sure if you think you are who you think you are.
I lean close to him and I say, I'm an agent for the Queen. I've got the secret documents and everything.
You may want to talk to your director. He's over there. And like down at the far end of the bar, you see a fellow wearing a fine suit, nursing one of those tankards. But it's bloodstained and torn by what look like knives. And his eyes are bandaged, although his hair is gray and well oiled. He's, nursing his drink at the end of the bar.
Thanks, barman. Thanks for the tip.
Absolutely. And he kind of like just puts his hand on the last glass that you put down and says, "I think that's enough for now. Otherwise, you'll find yourself underneath the bar in a few moments."
Right you are. Good thinking yet again.
He nods. And
You're a professional, and I admire your work.
I admire your last performance too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. So do you head over to this fellow at the bar?
Yes, the one that he said was my director. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I asked him, are you the director or are you the casting director, or is it the same? Or is it the same?
He kind of laughs and says, Yes, I was the director. Was
Was? What?
recently deposed.
I'm a little disappointed to hear that, actually.
No worries, no worries. It won't end, you know. It won't begin either.
Yeah.
The play is the play.
The show, as they say, must go on.
This is where he turns to you and laughs and looks at you directly with his eyes, and you can see that they're quite bloodshot, as if he's been crying, drinking a lot, or some combo of all that. And he says, "It is the truth of the universe, but it is folly to try and bring forth the king. He doesn't need our world. He only wants to chew us up, spit us out, and wait. And so the cycle will repeat until the last syllable of recorded time." Funniest joke I've heard in a long time.
So who's the new director if it's not you? I thought you were the director. Who's the new director? By the by.
By the by, if you are so concerned about regaining a part, then he just like rubs his nose onto his sleeve, and it's like, it's some sort of viscous substance going onto his sleeve, I'll tell you. He says, if you really are concerned, if you really want to know and rejoin the play, then talk to the tragedy and he might know more. Again, he doesn't need a director. He doesn't need, well, he doesn't need us. We are just fodder for the great show that keeps going on. And he'll gesture when he says the tragedy, and he'll kind of gesture to like one of the pictures that's on the wall that you didn't notice before, and it's of like a mummer's mask.
What does a mummer's mask look like?
It's basically like a white mask, very pale mask, and it's like it's neither the sock nor the buskin comedy tragedy masks. It's just like a plain a plain mask with like eye holes and like a mouth. So
Is that a picture of him or is that him? I asked the director.
oh, it's a representation, right?
Yeah.
A representation, like you are the representation of what are you a representation of? And he's looking at you with really bleary eyes right now, and he's kind of like patting at your clothing, and just he's pointing at it, and then as he points, he tips straight over and then onto the floor in a complete drunken stupor.
I'm going to try to prop him up against the base of the bar there so he doesn't puke on himself, maybe.
Yeah. And then the barman will look at you and say, "Well, that's very kind of you. Don't worry. He comes in here all the time, gets to that state, and then somehow he finds his way out, stumbles back in the next evening, excuse me. So no worries, but thank you." And we're going to go to the last unseen. Daniel, Francis Ackerman has recently returned from the subcontinent. As he retires to the bedroom he has taken at the club, how do we see him drop his stern facade and express his vulnerability? And again, show how reality subtly distorts in the background.
when he walks into his room, he's wearing like a top hat and like a long tail black jacket, and he turns like he's about to say, well, that's that, but there's nobody here. So he just turns and he walks over to this desk that has a mirror, and some of his things are on it, and he takes off his top hat, and a little tiny flower falls out of the top hat, as does his hair. His hair is much longer, and we see him peel off his mustache and at his prosthetic nose, and we see this like bird-like, very feminine bird-like nose underneath this prosthetic. And when he takes off his jacket and his waistcoat and his tie, he's wearing a hospital gown. And now we totally recognize Hypatia Quint. And she picks up one of these one of her belongings on the desk, and it's a drawing of her wife, and her wife looks like she's lost in this shadowy dream world as she's walking left and right in the drawing. And then we see a tear go down Francis Ackerman's cheek as Hypatia Quint looks at the drawing.
So, Victor, Act 3 is just utterly bizarre, difficult to follow, and in many places, insufferable. The bulk of this act involves the introduction of 3 courtiers of the occluded king, and I'm going to not pressure you to give me all 3, but I'm going to split it up between the 3 of you. So the first introduced is the Duchess. So please paint the scene for me, Victor. In what disturbing or bizarre way is the Duchess introduced?
The Duchess just falls from the rafters, just flat on her face. Like, have you all ever seen how the show Mr. Bean starts, where he kind of just like falls from the sky down and splats? She just shows up like that. No one acknowledges it, and they just go on with the scene.
And then Whitmore. What disturbing or bizarre way is the prince introduced?
A frog hops out onto the stage, wearing a little crown and with a cape. He hops to the center of the stage in a spotlight and ribbits once. It ribbits a second time, and the audience is just staring, waiting for someone to kiss this frog. And we just see a man run onto the stage wearing essentially just his long underwear, clearly made up as if he's an actor. Says, no, get back here. I need that cape. I need the cape and the crown. And he just realizes, oh, I'm on stage. And then immediately begins speaking his lines as the prince, trying to chase this frog to steal back his costume.
And Lord Campbell-Hughes. In what disturbing or bizarre way is the knave introduced?
Two stagehands dressed all in black with those masks. They wheel out this gallows, and it's a small gallows, but up on a box is the knave. He looks a little nervous because his hands are tied behind his back, and the hangsman noose is around his neck. And as he's wheeled in, there's a lever that will like open the box and drop him down in it. And one of the stagehands just has their hand resting on it, and he keeps looking at the audience for help, and then keeps switching his view over to the hand of the stagehand.
And then the play concludes with the appearance of the occluded king. There's an overly tall figure, like probably about 7 feet tall at the very least, in tattered black robes, a ghost white mask, and a blood red helm. The chorus members sing a shrieking, discordant dirge as the courtiers push the journeywoman toward the king. And suddenly, this space has been plunged into darkness. And slowly, after a count of 3, they slowly come back on again, as if lamps were lit or candles were flamed. But you don't see anything. You just see lights come back on somehow. The curtain is lowered. No one comes out to take a bow, and there are no ovations. Very few people even clap, and when they do, it's usually of a confused. And the ending feels abrupt and incomplete. People start to file out. You hear like the familiar chung chung of doors being opened. And Melody just turns to you and says, "What on earth did we just witness?"
I have no idea. After the third fake intermission, at that point, I was really out of it.
Out of it seems to be where they are coming from or where they are going.
Mhm.
I have much to think on.
Yep. What first and last name? Melanie? You
Oh, I'm sorry. Again, my name is Melody Bain.
Where are you right now?
Oh, I have a small mercantile. Like not here, of course, in
Mhm.
Belgrave Square, but
Okay.
further up, like over in the
Mhm.
industrial area.
Day to day?
Yes.
What's the day today?
What's the day today?
Yes. Yeah.
And she has to think about it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, you two are the only ones that are left in the basement. Everyone else is left. But then you hear from somewhere above you the sound of an audience applauding.
I think Victor would look up at the audience and bow to them just to see what happens.
Silence.
Then Victor would go, Melanie, you have to bow. It's curtain call.
She looks confused, but she does as you say, which she looks to you to prompt her to bow. And then there's like, again, from above you somewhere, there's like laughter and then applause again.
Victor would go, I do not know who you all are, but in the future, if you would like a show that will shock and awe, just put me in front of some sort of horrible monster and creature, and I will make it worth your money, souls. I don't know what you all are paying for this.
And then distantly, still from above you, but distantly, as if they're leaving, you hear like, jeers of like, yeah, that's right, you get at it. And it's like, oh, you'll show them next time, yeah. It's like, oh, it's so exciting. Oh, can't wait to see it. And then the whispers or the calls disappear.
Mm-hmm.
And Melody just looks at you and then starts to leave the basement at Hargrave House. Just, if you do find yourself over in, and I can't remember what particular area, But if you do find yourself there, then please stop by the Candlelit.
Mhm.
That's the name of my store.
Candlelit, owned by Melanie. Yes, I will check in. Oh, the last person who I told this to did not listen to me. So I'm looking at you seriously right now. You better fucking do it. There is a woman named Effie. She is a doctor. I he pulls out like Effie's card. She probably has one. Go to here, just get checked up. If you don't, you will probably, I don't want to say die, but you won't be great, I think.
Oh my.
Mm-hmm.
I will, and she takes the card. I will see this doctor
Mm-hmm.
and I will follow your advice.
Good.
And I will say yet again, you are an odd one. Thank you.
You have a good night.
You too?
Mm-hmm.
And Whitmore, you've been plunged into darkness, and the only light is coming from the hallway. You still have Hypatia's pad in your hand, or paper, whatever she drew on, in your hand. You can feel it, but you do not sense her anywhere near you. Do you stay or do you go?
Whitmore would head towards the light, literally, not metaphorically. He hopes. Um, Still holding on to the pad of paper with the picture of himself on it. But before taking a full step out of the doorway, he would probably poke his head out to look both ways before entering the hospital hallway.
Information move with composure, please.
Really, now it's a 6.
I'm gonna say, just because
Mhm.
the 6, that yeah, you don't see anything, but you do hear from behind you, out of the darkness, you hear, reality is the unmaking, and you hear a thud.
Whitmore would turn around. What fell?
I think you would see that Hypatia, like in the hallway light that is kind of shining down where you are looking at the floor, you see Hypatia's face, like in profile. She is on the floor and her arm is at an uncomfortable angle. And there seems to be some kind of substance coming from her nose.
Whitmore would simply call for a nurse. And then after yelling for a nurse, he would drop to his knees and see if Hypatia's still with us. Conscious, alive, whatever it is.
Her eyes are open. They have a very strange look to them, as if one of them is laughing and then the other one is crying. Or you could put on a mask.
I'm just trying to figure out how eyes do that. Oh, you mean the facial expressions? I was
Yes.
thinking the pupils are physically laughing and crying, like tiny faces inside of the eyeball.
If you want to make it weird, we can totally go that way.
Oh, God. Sorry, that's what the look of confusion was. Oh, I'm not putting on. I don't think I can put on a mask to get rid of that sentence. We have to keep that. We have to keep that. It's the eyes themselves are actually laughing and crying at me. Yeah, they have to be.
Okay. At that point, all of the nurses that weren't there around before, in fact, like the two that were talking like as you passed, they were like, "What you be doing around here, sir? It's like incredibly late. It's like there's no visiting hours. I mean, like you've risked something just like just being here at night. What are you, off your bomb?" And they will check Hypatia, and yeah, she is deceased. And from down the hallway, you hear Larkin Creel's peal of laughter. "She's kicked off, has she? Reality unmade. She's between now." As some nurses go up and try to shush him in not the gentlest of ways. And Lord Campbell-Hughes, I think if you make your way out of the bar, out of the night tap, and you come out back into this weird alleyway, I think you will see where it was blackness before. You're seeing like a street corner. And on the street corner, you see this very tall figure in black form-fitting attire, no skin at all visible. And there's that pallid mask that the director had pointed out earlier. And he's reciting and riffing on the classics. As you come up, you hear him say to the world at large, "All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. Life's but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. To be or not to be."
The show, as they say, must go on. Is that not correct?
That is very correct. You are of the production.
In a sense,
He nods. "Say your lines with me, and we shall give a preview to all of the crowd." He gestures widely, but there is no crowd to be had here. Just a mysterious light shining down on the both of you on this weird street corner.
we see Lord James Campbell-Hughes pull out a massive elephant pistol. And there's an explosion in the night as he empties both barrels into the Tragitarian.
You're firing in real time,
Yeah.
but he is being blown like according to the momentum of the bullets or whatever ammo is in it, in a slow motion kind of way. Like they're not hitting directly where you're aiming. They're kind of like hitting a shoulder and then swirling around to hit a hip. And then like maybe his head gets thrown back dramatically as the mask falls. You don't see his face, but the mask falls and shatters to the ground. And when the mask falls and shatters, then his whole form collapses into an inanimate costume. And when you look, the costume is fine. It's intact, just gently crumpled to the ground, along with the mask. You can add the tragedian's costume to your personal quarters, Sir Campbell-Hughes, Lord Campbell-Hughes. And I'm sorry, I cut you off earlier, Whitmore. Did you have something last for that scene?
Nothing of consequence, no.
Just making sure. And then I'm going to say that we have come out of night phase with a confused, I'm sure, Lord Campbell-Hughes stumbling out from this alleyway, in through the velvet curtains, and then out into the basement of Hargrave House yet again. We're back. And before we head into dawn phase, I'm going to give each hunter a condition. So Lord James Campbell-Hughes, I'm going to say that your condition is the play's the thing. Whitmore, your condition is dreaming wide awake. No, reality wide awake. And then Victor, how do you feel after watching that wackadoodle show?
Just confused. Yeah, really nothing else that Victor would feel after that besides just like general confusion and just like, did I accomplish anything that night? I don't really know.
I have a perfect condition then.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So basically your
Ooh.
condition is, what would Krush do?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's good. That's good.
Okay. All right. So let's head into dawn phase. Okay. No threat was resolved. We did not answer any questions. But we will go ahead and take a look at everybody's dawn questions.
Didn't we answer the question about where the play was going to be?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes. Yes. Sorry. So we did answer that particular question. So that would be part of the answering dawn questions. So my apologies. Okay. So you answered a question. Lord Campbell-Hughes, did you resolve a threat? No. Did you experience an echo in the night? I think I heard
Yes,
one.
with Hypatia Quint.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Did you leverage your social status to gain the upper hand?
I mean, I tried to with the theater people, but I don't think it worked. I didn't feel like I got the upper hand.
Right. Did you deliver a chilling, dead-eyed monologue about the horrors of the world?
I did last time with talking about Morocco and the sand vipers.
Go ahead and take that. Yeah. All right. So go ahead and mark your XP accordingly. If you have an advancement, fantastic. And then just clear your dawn questions and change your elective dawn questions if you choose. All right. Whitmore, you answered a question, did not resolve a threat. Did you go ahead?
I will also go ahead and check Doc's. Did we answer a question? Because he was here for answering that one.
Great. Thank you. Did you resolve a threat? No. Did you experience an echo in the night? I think I heard one.
I think
least one.
so. I at least attempted to with the old sea captain on the boat talking down to the younger people in
Yes.
Whitmore's story.
Excellent. Did you have a scene showing your secret private life in London?
I also attempted to. Sort of the comment towards the end of this is why I avoid hospitals. I'm not sure if that would count though.
Yeah, I mean, like it should be really a scene, like, you know, where it's
fair.
Yeah. Did you subtly express sexual desire for your employer in the way that you dressed them or served them?
Yes, Whitmore provided Lord Campbell-Hughes' doggy bag with a small kiss.
Oh, okay. Go ahead and take that. All right. And if you get an advancement, go ahead and add that. Clear your XP track and then clear your dawn questions and change them out if you want to. Okay. And Victor answered a question, did not resolve a threat. Did you experience an oak in the night? Pretty sure I heard one. I thought.
Yeah, the animatronic animal masks and then like the masks in the chorus.
Cool. Did you loudly curse your family's name?
I loudly cursed Rosik Prush's name, and he's part of my family.
I love it. Go ahead. Did you revel in the thrill of the hunt?
Does a weird but surprisingly fun night with a new friend count as like thrill? I don't think it does.
No,
right?
no.
I was like, how do you hunt a theater performance?
You don't,
right?
You don't. Especially because that's right on your doorstep. Well, in your basement, you know.
Yeah, right. It was
like,
so convenient. Yeah.
Yeah, wasn't quite thrilling. Wasn't quite the hunt. So,
yeah.
But you made a new friend. That's cool.
Yeah, no, it's really cool.
All right, so mark your XP track if you got an advancement, you know, like just make a note of it. And then clear your dawn questions and choose new ones for the electives if you want. All right. And then down base, let's see. playbook moves. We have Factotum. Memory is the servant. Let me just go ahead and read that off. Or do you want to go ahead and read that off?
Yeah,
Whitmore.
I can go read that. Go ahead and read that one off.
Mm-hmm.
Memory is the servant. During the dawn phase, I may tell the keeper that I'm claiming a memento, which can be any object from a scene in the recently concluded night phase that I would reasonably have been able to acquire. If I keep the memento, add it to my personal quarters. If I give the memento to another hunter, mark EXP and add it to their personal quarters.
What would you like to do tonight? I mean, for this
I
morning.
would like to keep the drawing of Whitmore at the REC.
Yes.
The real question, and I will actually need to think about this, is does Whitmore keep it for himself, or does he give it to Lord Campbell-Hughes?
Isn't it a picture of you as me?
Correct.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
don't know how that would go
That
over,
might
but-
not go over too
No,
well.
that's probably not going to go over too well, but it would be a dawn. It would be a very easy dawn question. No, I will keep it for myself.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's hilarious. Dawn is complete. I mean, you don't have to necessarily, if you've reached an advancement, you don't necessarily have to pick it right now, but definitely take consideration about what you're looking towards for next time. And then we're going to hit day phase in a second. Let me just get things ready. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I'm going to say after this weird ass night, it could be like the next morning or a few days hence, but there is a timer on the King in Shadows, so it's probably not the best idea to say too much time has passed. So this morning, Whitmore, I'm gonna say that like on your way back from Bedlam, like of some weird, seemingly innocuous, I guess, social engagement where you meet with, I don't want to say underlings, but I mean, of an assistant private secretary in the civil service named Edwin Belmont. What seemingly innocuous social engagement does Edwin meet you at to make contact with Hargrave House? And I'll explain who he is after you tell me.
We would actually meet at a weekday mass held at the cathedral closest to Hargrave House.
So you don't imagine that it is, let me just double check here. You don't imagine that it's at St. Cecilia's?
You know what? We can say it moves around a bit, and this time it can be at St. Cecilia's.
Okay. Only because you have a connection with that before. So Edwin Belmont is an assistant private secretary at the civil service, assigned to the India office in Whitehall. This He tells you that he's recently been approached by a blackmail gang demanding sensitive information on British plans for Afghanistan. Edwin is aware of other recent leaks and fears he's not the only target of these blackmailers, insisting that he has been diligent in his own personal security. The only thing out of the ordinary he has done recently was visit the renowned medium Madame Sorokin, who impressed him as surprisingly insightful. Wanting to avoid the scrutiny of his peers in the India office, and knowing the occult is their area of expertise, he has made contact with Hargrave House through you to ask for assistance in determining if Madame Sorokin is linked to the blackmail ring. In particular, he is concerned by rumors that she has recently received the St. Petersburg mirror, a supposed scrying device of considerable power, as a gift from the cultural attaché to the Russian embassy. Madame Sorokin has a parlor in the East End, and she is also supposed to be holding a seance at the house of the widowed Lady Cadwallader, with several notables in attendance. Why do you trust his instinct? Why do you trust Edwin's instinct about Madame Sorokin?
I would trust his instinct because despite the fact that both of his hands are holding his prayer book as he's speaking to Whitmore. The gold crucifix that he wears slowly starts to vibrate as Madame Sorenson's name gets mentioned and begins to like rise off from his skin. He is unaware that this is happening.
That was going to be my next question. Okay. So this opens up actually several questions that you can choose how you want to resolve the threat. Okay. And then there is I don't know how it's termed, but like a side question that you can choose to answer. You can pick from one of the possible ways to resolve. So what trickery and deceit does Madame Sorokin deploy in order to dupe those who come into her parlor? Complexity 4, which resolves the threat by exposing Madame Sorokin as a fraud and discrediting her in the public eye, reducing the risk that she will be able to find further victims. Or, who is truly behind the blackmail ring, and how are they using Madame Sorokin as a pawn in their game? Also a complexity 4. And to resolve the threat that way, you would deal with the power behind Madame Sorokin. And if Hargrave House feels that Madame Sorokin is useful, you may be able to recruit her to your cause. Another way that you can possibly resolve is, how do you know that not only is Madame Sorokin a true psychic, but currently is only using a small portion of her potential? Given time, what could she achieve? That, however, is complexity 6. So resolve the threat that way by bringing Madame Sorokin under control, whether through force, magic, or reason. Approached carefully, she could even be an asset, but she might be too dangerous to handle. All right. And then the side question is the St. Petersburg mirror genuine? A complexity 2. If the mirror is genuine, it is available as a reward if the hunters are able to secure it.
So just to clarify, we're aiming to answer one of the top 3 questions.
Correct.
And optionally the complexity 2 question.
Exactly. And there is a mask associated with this particular threat, and it is called the Mask of the Mirror.
What is this threat called?
I'm sorry, this is called the St. Petersburg Mirror. So now you have that on your plate. So now we are up to 3 active threats. Oh boy. This is where the game starts to get feeling really pressured. So again, you have Shoreditch Slugger that you could try to investigate. Of course, like, you missed the last bout club, but I'm sure that you could always find those that look like they've been to the last bout club and find out from them where the next venue is. And then there's also, of course, King in Shadows. That one is weird and still hanging around. There might be another show, like, tomorrow night, whether at Hargrave House or elsewhere. You'll have to see, but reality is slowly breaking down, I'm sure, all over the city. And now we have St. Petersburg Mirror. Again, I mean, Madame Sorokin has a salon of sorts over in the East End, I believe, a parlor in the East End, and supposed to be holding a seance over at the Cadwalladers. And also she is linked with the cultural attaché of the Russian embassy through that mirror. So quite a few places to go take a look-see. All right. So we can open up with maybe vulnerable scenes just to close out the evening before we go into stars and wishes. And then, like, you can start to think about what you want to do for the continuance of day phase for the next time that we meet. All right. What would you like to do?
Yeah, I'd like to have the American back on the team so we can like maybe even he can like tie up the Shoreditch Slugger. But anyways, that makes sense to me.
Okay.
Definitely.
I mean, again, we can just go straight to stars and wishes if you want to wait till wait till Bob is back with us to do vulnerable.
Does Bob
scenes.
have conditions that he needs
He does
to?
not. He's got one. He's got promise of a gun.
Yeah, because he was talking with that one fella in the dive bar last time. So that fella wants him to shoot the Shoreditch Slugger dead. I gotta solve it first. Darn it. Oh, and by the way, that bar that you were at, Lord Campbell-Hughes, that is only accessible during night phase.
Yeah, I'm not going to go straight to Stars and Wishes. If
All right, great.
unless Whitmore, you have a
It feels just a little bit early to head straight to there, and I would like to do one vulnerable scene, but we can certainly head to Stars and Wishes if people are good for it.
Well, you can only request a vulnerable scene with Lord Campbell-Hughes.
I'm
However, doesn't stop Victor or
Mhm.
Doc from asking to have one with you. So just need a vice in play, and whomever's vice it is would be framing up the scene. So
I'm planning to keep this condition for a bit, so I don't know if I don't think I'm going to do a vulnerable move scene. So yeah.
Lord Campbell-Hughes, would you be willing for one?
Sure. And I just have the one. So that'll keep him fresh. And so this would be with Jin.
Of course.
And he's got an iron stomach, this Lord James Campbell-Hughes. I'm not even 100% sure that what they were serving at the night tap was even real. So this would be probably when you're telling me about this St. Petersburg mirror and this is it Beaumont or Belmont? Belmont? The guy that
Belmont.
Belmont. So you're probably after we've talked about this in the St. Petersburg mirror, it does ring some bells, but we can I'm probably talking about I've got some contacts that know about this, but Whitmore, tell me about Bedlam. How did that go last night? Horrid place.
Horrid place indeed, as Whitmore would probably pour himself a glass of gin, start to take a sip from it, then hand it to you, and then pour himself a second one. It was truly a horrid place, and I fear that my presence there did more harm than good. When I arrived, we had 2 leads at the place on the King in Shadows, and when I left, one was dead and the other being taken away. And I could have done something to stop it. And yet I couldn't.
Get up, old boy. I don't think see, the play's the thing. And it's warping reality here in London. And I'm not for sure if any of these people associated, except for us, are even real. They could just be, you may not even went to Bedlam. Because I definitely went someplace last night that does not exist. So don't take it to heart. This is something beyond the comprehension of mere mortal men.
You say that with such confidence. I still feel as though, despite all of my adventures with you all, that I'm still in the dark, that my intuition is not merely second class. It is down in the coal pits of that fair steamer ship.
And that will keep you alive. You gotta always doubt. You gotta always be suspicious. You gotta always be skeptical, because the darkness that we chase, sometimes it's on a different plane of existence. And I know that's a bit much to take in, but once you process it and see evidence in your in your own way to process it, I think you'll be on board, Whitmore. We do good work.
That we do. I'm just not sure that we, he would say, circling his glass around, gesturing at all of Hargrave House, always includes me.
Whitmore, if not you, then who? Like, if you don't step up with us in battle against darkness, then who? Who will it be to face against Spring-Heeled Jack and the slasher of East End? It's, if not you, then who, Whitmore?
Lord Campbell-Hughes, if I may ask, would you put down your glass for just a moment?
But sure.
Whitmore would also put his down, and if Lord Campbell-Hughes allows it, would embrace Lord Campbell-Hughes.
Oh, no, that's a bit much, old boy. Got to keep it
You-
professional.
Not in here, we don't. It's just the two of us and our
Well,
gin.
as your employer, we have certain standards of decorum.
It is warranted when you quote me back to me. You said something that reminded me of something I said to Doc. Oh, weeks ago, perhaps, about my place on this team. And you couldn't have possibly overheard it. But you've just quoted me to me, and that deserves a tender embrace. You really know me.
Not while we're on the clock, man. We've got the St. Petersburg Mirror. We've got the King in Shadows and the Shoreditch Slugger. Chin up, shoulders back. Let's smash it.
Whitmore would then take and shoot the rest of his gin, smash the glass on the floor. Yes, we will, after I get a broom and dustpan. And then come back into the room and clean up the broken glass, because that's dangerous.
Got the
But
scene
good lad.
there. Got the scene there. And then yeah, let's look at conditions. I mean, you both made a mention of like your conditions, so that fulfills part of it. Do you think that you've thought about it enough to release it? To release the condition plays the thing?
Yeah, I think, because it's from what I saw last night, and with the Tragitarian, like, I know that this is like some kind of mind warping reality thing, and we're having to play along, but it's still like the mission. Like, it's like we have to stop this.
Okay. And Whitmore, do you think you can release in the dark?
With that steely-eyed monologue from Lord Campbell-Hughes, I think Whitmore can.
Okay.
I think he's had the condition long enough and come to see the light.
Okay, cool. All right, no problem. While they're doing this, may I ask what Victor's doing?
Victor would like to visit is it like a tent with Madame Sorkin?
No, she would have like quarters, like a parlor in
Yeah,
the East
yeah.
End, like how like they would have,
Oh, yeah.
they kind of like have their sitting room, reading room, and then
And then
maybe
you
like they
go-
live above, they live above
Yeah.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what she most likely has for sure.
Yeah. Victor would like to visit Madame Sorkin.
Okay. Yes, she has a place in the East End. Let me see. Yeah, I think it's well known enough that like you don't have to even worry about like trying to figure out where it is, because the cabs know. And it is a fussily decorated front parlor in an East End townhouse, replete with pseudo-Eastern European motifs. A large table with several chairs dominates the room, and the St. Petersburg mirror hung prominently behind Madame Sorokin's chair. The mantelpiece and shelves are covered in knickknacks and curios. Paint the scene, and this is for everybody. What here is obviously cheap set dressing, and what hints at a true connection to the occult?
I'm gonna say there's like a big display case that has things like spirit boards and crystal balls and things like that, and they're just props. But as the camera pans by, we see like maybe the spirit board is slowly spelling out some word, very, very slowly behind the case. It's spelling out, it's on the E and then it's on the L, slowly moving.
We would see that despite the windows being open and the crystal ball on the table in full view, it isn't refracting the light to a single point. It's not a real crystal ball. It's some glass facsimile. But what we don't necessarily notice is that the glass is reflecting the light everywhere around the space, pointing out different objects, specific objects on the wall. And as objects get linked together, or as objects get lit up, they slowly like shuffle around. So books realigning themselves on the shelves, tarot card decks just giving themselves a quick shuffle on the table.
I think we see because it just generally fits the vibe of this place. Like along the shelves, going along all these like little trinkets and stuff, is just a bright-eyed black cat that seems to just like crawl across the shelves. And if you look closely at the different shelves, there is food placed in all those different places. So they go to like very specific spots, the most optimal places in the place. But we do also, if you look closely at the cat's eyes, if you just like have a staring contest with them, they will mouth something at you before scurrying away. You're not really clear what they mouth though.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that at the moment, you do not see anyone here. Like she may have stepped out or something like that. But you take in like the atmosphere of this place. You take in the strange objects that you see. And yeah, conceivably, at the moment, you could snoop.
I think Victor right now isn't in like he's not like on his game enough to just think about snooping. So he'll just like sit in the chair, like clearly placed in front of like where Madame Sorkin would be. And he would take out the sharpened kitchen knife that was given to him and just like sharpen it even more along one of his hatchets, just like sparking it, just like sharpening in like deep thought. And he'll just be like, hello, is the psychic maybe not psychic, the magic person here? Anyone? Is there an assistant to an apprentice maybe? Then ting ting ting, just waiting.
Yeah, I think that like through like some gauzy curtains and some click clackety beads and such, like out steps a woman in a plain black dress with steel gray hair, and her eyes are looking like sizing you up as you sit there. She looks very severe at you as she has an indignant look on her face and says, "I'm sorry, We have had far too many so-called skeptics seeking to disrupt Madame Sorokin's work. It is my duty to protect her from those who act in bad faith. I think you need to leave. She is not here right now for consultation.
Can I set up an appointment?
Absolutely. As soon as you set an appointment, she like whips out a big fat book from the side and like slams it down on the table in front of you as she sits down, looks up at you, and without looking, like she'll grab like a pen from somewhere and, you know, like turn it so it's in front of you and says, please look at the calendar and mark where we can schedule you.
Victor will lean forward, peruse the calendar in clearly a fake way, and just like, but is there a open spot for, like, leans forward, an Armstrong?
Want a presence?
Yeah.
Okay.
What was it? Yeah, in want of privilege.
Privilege. I always forget like what it is.
Yeah. And I think Victor, just to, because he's seen like the kind of items these people might like, he will lean forward, say that, and also offer up the crystal eye that he
This is most interesting for sure. So yeah, roll with presence with,
yeah, says with presence.
hold on. There, just gotta double check your trying to remember. I just gave it to you and my memory sucks. Nah, that won't, your condition won't affect you on this one. So go ahead and just roll regular with presence.
And with advantage for the crystal eye, right?
Yes.
All right. That's gonna be a 13.
Jeez, this woof. Oh, lean into
Oh,
whisper
wow.
some. Oh, nice. Okay,
Oh,
great.
okay, yeah.
Ooh, fun. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So 10 plus, the person has history with your family and will help you for the remainder of the phase. So hopefully, hold on. She'll introduce herself as Elsie Tanner, Madame Sorkin's assistant. Assists. Want a privilege. Okay. Any information they can give will be in the form of a clue at the keeper's discretion, and any roles associated with the actions they help you with are taken at advantage. Okay. And then 12 plus, they also lean in to whisper something about the beast. Increase your hunt count by count by 1. Okay. I'm just gonna go ahead and give you a clue because that's so good. As she hears the name Armstrong and she's, there's a different look that crosses her face. It's like, I know that we always have open appointments for those in the know, per se. So let me take a little look here. I can fit you in. And then she says like some date, this coming week, to see Madame Sorokin. And as she's talking to you, you will see behind her, there looks to be a photographic portrait, like whatever, I forget like what kind of photography they have at this point. Very still, very kind of stern because they had to hold their pose for however long. And it's quite bright because it's new for the age, sepia colored or what have you. But as you're talking with Elsie and you're looking at this thing, you move a little bit, changing the angle of how you're standing, or maybe moving around a little bit to look at the book closer, what have you. But no matter where you go, the eyes of this photographic portrait seem to follow you. That is your clue. And finally, when you set up on a date, like in the coming week, she will actually lean in and say, the hunt is never ending. May it come to its conclusion, a victorious conclusion, soon. The scent is near. And that's what she whispers to you.
And in this moment, I would like to ask Daniel, what sign do I feel or see that I'm getting closer to the beast?
In the crystal ball, across in the display case, you see a large dark form, and you can see that it's got you can't make it out. It's like a silhouette, but you can see that it has like spears and arrows bristling out of its back where it's been shot over the centuries. And you just see it like it's like it's not coming from the window or anywhere. It's coming from inside the crystal ball. You see it.
And Victor stares at the crystal ball for a moment. Then after a bit, he'll be like, all right then. Thank you for setting up the appointment very promptly. Elsie, right? You
Yes.
Victor will stand up and be like, all right, Miss Elsie, I will be, I guess, seeing you soon. Seeing Madame soon. And I don't know if you all are going to be in town for very long, but what's there to do? There's a new play in town that might be interesting to see. But yeah, you all have a good day.
You too. If you are in need of anything nearby, then I advise going to the Candlelit. It is a small merchant shop here in the East End.
All right. You happen to know Melanie, who works there?
Oh, Melody owns the shop.
Yes. Oh, the owner. Yes.
She inherited it from her parents. Yes. She is quite helpful.
All right. Take your word for it. And he will leave the parlor.
Okay. Yeah, so basically just like, think in the next couple of days that you have an appointment to go see Madame Sorokin. However, you do know, of course, looking at the calendar, that she has an upcoming seance scheduled for the Cadwalladers that she will be doing with several notables in attendance. All right. And just for funsies, unless we want to completely just kind of fade out on day phase for now, because we'll return to it next time and hopefully we have Doc back. We will visit with Whitmore and Lord Campbell-Hughes to see what they're going to be doing for the day phase, and then revisit again what Doc has been doing while you all were engaged at nighttime. Maybe he found a cobweb and had something interesting to do. Who knows? Who knows? All right. So let's go ahead and do some stars and wishes to close out our session for this evening. Stars, again, anything that you appreciated about the gameplay, role play, each other, and, wishes are what you'd like to see for next time or the future. Okay.
I can start. Stars for Mads. All the scenes were very strange and like surreal, and that's really hard to do. I don't do those very well, so it's cool to see you do that. I was just confused the whole time, which is probably the goal. Also, like crazed cackling is really hard. I don't know how to do it. He's really good crazed cackling. Very well done. Started Daniel, the interactions with the bartender and everyone in the bar was really good. A lot of like good lines there. I really like that Lord Campbell-Hughes is just like, this is all a play, right? Guys, come on, let's be real. And just like not playing along, which is really fun. And star for Whitmore. I really like the line of like realities where the rules make sense. That was really good. And just like doing a lot of very like mundane but like significant things. Like it doesn't like Whitmore's like action scenes doesn't have to be him doing like huge things that meet like that Lord Hughes or like Victor does. It's just very like small things when he interacts with people. It's really cool. Stars for next time. I don't know. Like I say I wanted to have three things happening at the same time, but then like now you're like, what do I do at night? Now we have so many cool options. There's a seance happening. Very a lot of hustle and bustle now that we have to like split up our time with, which is cool. And yeah. Yeah, just that. Just seeing where everything goes once everything starts like meshing together. It's really cool to see that.
My stars, I agree with Paul about Mads, about the creepy audience members and poor melody. I also like the Witch Queen. I like the Witch Queen and Witch Queen of England, because we could have gone back. And then also like Mads, when you said, if you really want to make this weird, let's do it. I'm all in. Let's do it. So stars all around there for Mads. For Jeremy, I really like the poker table where the ring goes through to where the other guys are playing, and the way that you were able to work that back in for your unseen was really good. And another star for Jeremy for going to Bethlem on a night phase. Like that's brave, man. Yeah. So I knew that was going to be a horror show. So a star for taking that on. And for Paul, I really liked I have a star here. I really liked you trying to coach Melody through this this psychedelic ordeal. I liked how you hung with her, and because at first I thought you were just kind of chit-chatting with the audience as they came in, but you really were like you were like her spirit guide for this King of the Shadows. Okay, so my wishes, I really like the St. Petersburg Mirror. I think it's one of my when I ran my campaign, I think that was one of the standout, and it became such an integral part of our campaign. And Theodora had like a sister mirror, and at the climactic ending, it was all about the mirrors. And I like Madame Sorenkin as a character, and I'm excited to see which way we go with her. So my wish there is I'm just looking forward to it. And I guess my other wish is like I just want to shut down. I think I'm going to vote for the King of the Shadows, just to try to stabilize reality. But those are mine.
On a similar vein to your start, Daniel, the unseen that you gave about the man slowly transforming into Hypatia was beautiful. The layers of clothing coming off and essentially the taking off of 1,000 different masks to reveal who the person was. I both did not see coming, and in slow motion, it was fantastic. A star to Victor for just the little seeing a human side of our beast hunter interacting with Melody. Your casual mention of, if my fiance sees us, she will kill you. Don't worry, it'll be quick. Was Victor to the nose, but in such a non-violent moment. And Mads, I don't know if this is written somewhere in one of the mysteries, but the link of the candle lit between the two, the night scene and the day scene, just across two different mysteries or two different threats, was a link I did not see coming, and I love it. And the picture of Whitmore at the REC, I know I selected it as a personal quarters item, but I love that. I love just the imagery of it so much more than you could know. As far as wishes, due to a couple of blunders by myself, most of the wishes are pointed inwards rather than outwards, just of remembering that the unseen is not with us, it is somewhere else in London. And so my big wish is for myself to remember that, and I hope saying it out loud will. But my other big wish is that at some point we manage to get back to everyone having no conditions, just so that we can all both get on an even playing field, and so that the conditions can be piled back on.
I mean, everything that people have starred already is like, of course, things that it's like, oh yeah, I remember that one. And then yeah, that one was cool too. And yeah, I just love Lord Campbell-Hughes's like complete poise when it comes to just, yeah, this is weird, but I mean, like, I'm just gonna like run with it, because I mean, like, I'm trying to find out stuff and get stuff done. I mean, like, I'm gonna try to see, I mean, like, that's like a combo star, but then like a wish for me to try to figure out how to make his facade crack. Um, and then with Victor, it's like, I think it was interesting, like, your take on the whole like play thing. One that was in Hargrave House, but then you're like, you're relatively calm, but then like, muttering to yourself about your cousin, which was brilliant. I mean, like, we just did that wasn't as a weird like one-off bit, but then you kept on going with it. So I'm like, well, damn, okay, then like I guess like Crush like will maybe come into the picture someday. Who the hell knows? So who knows? Yeah, the Legacies family is always an interesting thing to see, like how the player reveals it or unfurls it as we go along. So I can't wait to see more of this stuff. I got to start trying to figure out how to put you guys in more danger, period, just because it's like, one, it's night phase, and two, because it's like, I need to see like, people hopefully rolling badly enough that we can get to see more masks. But I also don't want this campaign to run its course in like, 6 moves. So that weird fine balance. So yeah. And then Whitmore, I mean, you have such a gentle way about you. And it's like, I'm so sorry if it seems like I'm trying to scare you to death every single time we go through night phase. But I mean, you just go into places where it's like, it's just so easy. So yeah. I thought it was interesting that you didn't use a mask to keep Hypatia alive, but again, whatever choices you want to make, that's perfectly fine. It is what it is. And sometimes it's actually better to see how dramatic it gets. In fact, wish for next time. This may come back and bite you in the ass. We'll see.
Wonderful.
Okay. Wonderful. Okay.
For whoever watches the recording, it was the right decision in the moment. We'll
Yes.
see if it means something later on.
Oh, yes. I mean, still have to complicate your life. You don't just walk away with a condition and then end it. It's like, yeah, a miss has repercussions. I think this is a time for a little stinger scene. So I think we are in day phase still. The hunters are doing what they're doing. And I think we move the camera through the streets of London as there's talk and there's murmurs, and then there are sounds like a voiceover, like like sound effects in the foreground of looking at Buckingham Palace, and you hear smashing sounds occurring. And then the camera pans in, fades into the halls of Buckingham Palace, and a figure, too quick to see, but you can see the passing of the figure as it goes down certain hallways, a montage of hallways and rooms with mirrors in them, whether small like hand mirrors or large like full-length mirrors in a room. And this person, this figure, this thing goes through and breaks every single one. And the head chamberlain of the palace is shaking his head as we move into his office, and the servants, his direct underlings, come in and say, "We don't know what's going on. All we know is that these mirrors are being broken deliberately. The last one that was seen, there was a figure, but the maid won't tell us where the figure went, and she is too weak to make this kind of damage." And they roll in a full-length mirror that has been broken in half, but it will no longer reflect anything except for a dark, smoky aura swirling in its broken depths. And that is where we close out our session for this evening. So enjoy your couple of weeks, or maybe longer, depending on how schedule goes because of things coming up. And, we'll look forward to next time when hopefully everyone is back together. All right. So in the meantime, happy gaming, and I will see you all next time. See ya. Bye.